Cadillac is very quietly having a resurgence in image and in sales, and surprisingly, it's thanks to electric vehicles. Welcome back to All Cars, y'all. I am John, and Cadillac has really struggled to find their identity for about 40 some odd years now. Back in the 50s and the 60s, they were longer, lower, wider, more chrome, bigger fins. But with the gas crises of the 70s and emission standards and the onrush of smaller cars being driven by fuel efficiency, Cadillac hit an identity crisis. They came out with some poor cars like the Cimarron, some missteps like the downsized Seville in the middle of the 80s, and even when they committed to building a really good car and investing in it, like the Seville STS of about 1992 or so, they still didn't get the quality of the materials quite right, and the North Star system that they added into it, while being world-class when released, ended up being troublesome, and that got into the mind of buyers. And so Cadillac has struggled to maintain their traditional buyers of wanting large, luxury, soft-riding barges, while at the same time appealing to those younger, wealthier buyers who really leaned more German. Well, their sales stabilized at about 150,000 units a year ever since the Great Recession. Their sales had cratered to just 37,000 units in 1995, but they've been stabilized. And that sounds okay until you compare it to the imports. If you look at this graph, while Cadillac selling about 150,000 a year, BMW in 2024 sold 370,000. Now, Cadillac's been coming out with some good cars along the way, the CT4 and the CT5. I personally like the CT6, but it was a failure and has been removed from the market. And their SUVs tend to be pretty good as well, and certainly the Escalade has got its own image in the marketplace. But it seems that buyers still will lean import, no matter how good Cadillac is. In fact, in some ways, cars like the CT4 and the CT5, certainly in their V trim, are considered as good or better than their German counterparts. And that's where electric vehicles come in. Electric vehicles are allowing Cadillac to kind of reset their entire image and enter themselves back into the mindset of the buyers. Now, electric vehicles are a topic that are rife with political implications, and I don't want to get into all of that. Certainly, they have become a sizable portion of the worldwide marketplace, but here in America, the United States, we do have a market share of about 7.4% in Q2 of 2025. Growth has slowed. That market is still growing, but it is growing more slowly. And we do need to see what happens with tariffs and with the elimination of the tax credits and things like that. But General Motors as a whole has been investing heavily into EVs, and they've been rolling out their own models. Certainly, like the Equinox EV has become a pretty good seller. In fact, compared with Tesla, General Motors is now the second largest EV seller in the United States, surpassing Ford for number 2. But Cadillac has benefited from this as well. They have launched 7 different electric vehicles: the Optiq, the midsize Lyriq, the 3-row Vistique, the Escalade IQ, plus the L version of that, plus V versions of some of these as well. And you can add in the hand-built ultra luxury Celestiq. And this onrush of new product is working. So far this year, Cadillac sales, 25% of them are electric vehicles, and over 80% of those buyers have been coming from Tesla. Now, you may want to poo-poo all this and just say, wait a minute, well, this is such a small part of the market, 7.4%, and Cadillac is number 1 in the luxury space if you ignore Tesla. And that's true. But they've beaten BMW, they've beaten Rivian for the second quarter. They've got a swath of new products out there which are speaking to consumers. And let's face the simple fact, when was the last time you heard Cadillac referred to as number 1 in a segment, number 1 in a market, number 1 in sales in anything? This is a big deal, and I think the reason is really simple. That portion of the market that's moving to electric vehicles, well, the definition of luxury in the EV space has yet to be defined. With the pre-70s luxury, it was Cadillac, it was Lincoln, it was those bigger, wider, longer, more luxurious, more plush, more loaded with features. Through the 80s and the 90s and 2000s for that matter, it was the Germanic approach. More buttoned down, better performance, solid, vault-like, tidier dimensions overall. And then you throw in the Japanese as well. But with electric vehicles, anybody can have a ton of horsepower. Anybody can have great acceleration. And some companies are leaning very heavily into the technology of it all. But it leaves an opening, I believe, for what is the ride, what is the handling, what is the ambiance in the interior, what is the human interface with the car, and what is the quality of the materials, what is everything that's going to define a luxury vehicle in the EV space. I think that is wide open because what BMW, what Mercedes, and what Cadillac are doing are all different. And Cadillac seems to be resonating in the marketplace. It would be interesting to see in the next coming quarters how Cadillac and their fresh lineup continues into the headwinds that are in the electric vehicle marketplace and the political spectrum and the competition as General Motors and everybody else continue rushing forward. How fast are they going to get their new, fresh batteries and everything else out there? What is going to define the EV luxury space in the future? And is Cadillac going to be able to keep its pole position? Let me know what you think below, guys. And if you like this video, well, there is a button for that below. I appreciate you spending just a few minutes with me here today. Thanks.